Now, believe it or not, the syntax of generators can be made even more simple. It seems like a common theme in Python to make code as simple as possible. So recreating our counter generator, we can now write counter lambda and the input, and then I can simply just say parentheses I for I in range n. Okay, so now if I do print counter 10, you can see that it is a generator object. This is analogous to this very same generator that we build in the generic way. Okay, so let me do print counter 10. We also get generator object. Now, this way of writing the generator or writing sequences in general is known as comprehensions, where you essentially condense the loop that you're going for into one line. You specify the loop, the second portion, then you specify the item in the first portion. Right now it's enclosed in parentheses, so it's a generator comprehension, but you can enclose it in other types. I could say list counter equals lambda n, and I can use square brackets, I for I in range n. If I print list counter 10, now I get a list, because this is now a list comprehension. I didn't even have to put it into a function. I could have simply just done this and then do print, and I get the same list. If you want to make a tuple, then we can write tuple, turn this into a parentheses, and now it is a tuple comprehension. Now you have to write the tuple because remember, the parentheses by itself is reserved for the generator. And if you're following this, you can also create a set. So now we have a set. And last but not least, we can also create a dictionary. But for a dictionary, there's a slight variation. So I write counter equals lambda n, and now I do curly braces. I'll do the second part first, the for loop part, for I in range n. And now I specify the item, but I don't just specify the item by itself, because remember, dictionaries are key value pairs. So I say I semicolon, that's the key, and now I have the item. Let's say a string of that. So now if I do print counter 10, I get a dictionary. Okay? Now the beauty of comprehension is it really has no bound. You can even turn multiple nested loops into a single comprehension. For example, let's say we were to generate coordinates of a cube like this, def gen cube chords. Then I say for I in range. So these are the x values of the coordinate. Then I say for j in range. These are the y values. And last but not least, I have k in range, the z values, and I simply just yield I, j, and then k. So this is a generator to generate those coordinates. I could have created the same generator but with one giant comprehension. Now pay close attention on how I do this. So I take this, alright, I write the parentheses, and now just as I have this order of these for loops in this nested arrangement, I keep that same order. So I say for I in range, okay, and then I say for j in range, and lastly I say for k in range, and then I simply just say take this, because that's the item, and I put it here. Okay, so just like the non-nested case of comprehension where we have the item first and then the for loop after, but since we have multiple for loops nested, we just cascade them in their order. And now because we wrote it into a generator like this, I can simply say for chord in gen cube chords print chord. Okay, and now I've created that same generator that is generating those cube coordinates on the fly by this one line comprehension. Now one final tidbit about comprehensions is you can even have like those one line if statements included inside it, but you have to specify it by the item. So let's say we only wanted to return ijk if each component was greater than 2. So So I can say I greater than 2, j greater than 2, and k greater than 2. Alright? Else, I want to return 2, 2, 2. So if you want to include an if statement, you have to include it like this, right by the item. You say your if condition, and then you return what you would return else. So now let me rerun this. And as you can see, for all the cases where ijk is less than 2, I'm just getting 2, 2, 2. Then above that, I'm actually getting the values.